Let's bring you some analysis on this story. I'm joined in the studio by Sébastien Maillard, who's director of the Jacques Delors Institute. Thanks for your time today, Mr. Maillard. First question, how in step or how in tune are Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron when it comes to immigration? Do they agree on it?
Well, we remember that during the presidential campaign, Emmanuel Macron had pledged, he was very positive on the way Angela Merkel had managed this. So they both are on a liberal line on this issue. But Angela Merkel is facing, as it was said, a very harsh opposition within her own coalition. So she is sort of trapped and has to deliver. The problem is that they are more apart on other issues such as the Eurozone or things like the way to face the Trump administration. But on migration, they could come together on and agree that the fact that countries of borderline like Italy, Greece or Spain must be helped, and we must also deal with all the asylum seekers they are getting. So there is a real call of solidarity that has been heard and that was definitely put forward last week during this boat in the Mediterranean Sea, the Aquarius.
Absolutely. I mean, the boat, a key point of contention, because we saw Merkel meeting with Italy's Prime Minister yesterday, and also Emmanuel Macron coming out and saying he's not in agreement with Italy's decision to turn this boat around. Do you think that both Macron and Merkel could come up with an agreement that's going to please the critics that Merkel has back at home, the Interior Minister, for example, who's deeply unhappy?
Well, they could come with an agreement on more border control, having more an external EU border safe coast guards that could be strengthened, and also agree on the fact that the countries on the other side of the Mediterranean, from North Africa, could be places where asylum seekers could already be dealt with. But that's, I think, a very dangerous path in the sense that a country as unsafe as Libya wouldn't be a country I trust to deal with our asylum seekers if we want really to address this issue seriously. But I think, and I'm afraid, that we are really moving toward this kind of solution where instead of doing the burden sharing between our countries, we try to outsource it outside Europe, and as we do it already with Turkey, and now we want to do it with other countries. And in terms of respect of human rights and European values, this may not please all the ones who insist on them. It may please the Home Affairs ministers, but perhaps not the NGO that are looking on these issues closely.
Mr. Maillard, as you were speaking there, we had images of Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron. Of course, their meeting is underway. Very friendly, they were smiling. How much do they need one another? How much do Germany and France need one another?
It's true they smile, but they don't agree on many things. And since Macron's elections, I think Macron has been irritating the Chancellor a lot, and Macron was on his side also desperate for some German answer. So there is no Franco-German engine as such today. It may be today the at last a way to relaunch it, but they don't get along much, and it's also true that they've been perhaps what gets them together is that they have no other partner. I mean, if you look towards London, there's a Brexit. If they look towards Italy, there is this Barak coalition. It's difficult to find a competition with them, and they are being divided and provoked by the Trump administration. So that's really working as paradoxically as a glue to get them together against the way Trump is dealing with them.
All right, so and when it comes to Eurozone issues, what is it that they don't agree on? What is it that they can't see eye to eye on?
Well, for Germany, everything that has to do with more risk sharing is something they want to reduce the risk, but not share the risk. And for France, on the contrary, they think we have a single currency. We must also share much more than just the currency, but share our risk. And this is crystallized in the problem of the Eurozone budget, which also is on today's agenda between France and Germany. Perhaps Merkel could agree on principle of a budget for the Eurozone, but it depends for what for and how much. For Angela Merkel, it must be very limited and must be perhaps an investment budget. On the contrary, for France, it must be a big budget that helps stabilize the Eurozone when it has shocks. For instance, look at if Ireland, after the Brexit, was under and had this kind of external shock in its economy, it's important to have a budget to help it. And this is a kind of stabilization that the Germans don't agree on. And there's, I think, still important dogmatic differences between France and Germany on this kind of issue. So I'm not sure we'll go that far today.
OK, we'll watch and see the outcome of this meeting, of course, a bit later. Sébastien Maillard, you're director of the Jacques Delors Institute. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.